This is The Final Word. It's the Australia-India Daily. The Border Gavaskar Trophy, Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins at Adelaide Oval, brought to you by Maurice Blackburn, Australia's #1 plaintiff law firm, and CBUS Super. Sort out your superannuation.
40th birthday.
40th birthday. Now, second day of the test match. Good luck with this one. 30 seconds. Tell me what happened.
Australia resumed at 1 for 86. They were all out for 337. What happened in the middle, though? Travis Head happened. At one stage, they were 73 behind when he walked in. They were 130 ahead when he completed his innings of 140 from 141 balls. Some of the most ridiculous hitting you will see. Some of the most crazy brave stuff you will see. One of the best test innings I've seen, all told. They had a 157-run first innings lead at the end of all of that. They got India 5 down by the close. They still trail by 29. It could yet be an innings defeat, but Rishabh Pant is scooping and lapping and reversing to the last, along with Nitish Kumar Reddy. What a day.
Scooping and lapping to the last. It was fun at the end as Rishabh did his thing, and if there's someone who can bash along with him, it is Reddy, who is Reddy. He's up for the challenge. But
right.
What a day. What a bizarre, incredibly hectic... I'm kind of buzzed. Actually, last night I was exhausted, but tonight I'm jazzed,
I feel like
man.
Just being here for 7 hours of that kind of test cricket just takes it out of a guy.
So I went, second session, I went and sat in the outer and I watched most of the Travis Head innings from down there, and the energy at ground level was terrific.
Yeah.
And then I came back upstairs and watched the last session while I was tapping away at the keyboard, but also it was so invigorating. It was so energised. The crowd going absolutely wild. Scott Boland, wicket first ball of his spell. Why is he always taking a wicket in his first over? He's literally magic. Like the consistency with which he's been able to do it, but the way the crowd absolutely goes up for it, and then they go up for Stark as he curls one through Shubman Gill. The noise, the energy, the adrenaline. I was riding on that today, and the turnaround from this Australian team, where they got absolutely smashed in Perth. They haven't won this test yet. I mean, strange things do happen and could happen, and if Punt and Reddy and the rest could put on 200 tomorrow, then they could still set Australia something testing. So you don't want to assume that it's over. But it felt like it was over with that run of wickets tonight in that third session. Australia was so far on top at that point. And after Travis had taken them from the point where he and Carey get together, they're 29 ahead at that stage. So they could be, it could be a lead of 50, which wouldn't be that much if India got a run on from there. And then it's 102 by the time Carey gets out, the lead, and Carey's only made 15, and Travis Head's done the rest.
Yeah, I mean, when Smith caught down the leg side, it still has the potential to be the kind of day where Australia are resolved for 200 or whatever it is, as they were last week. Another spell from Bumrah. These things move quickly, especially at Adelaide in day-night test cricket, which seems to be perpetually played in fast forward, combined with the way the modern game's clearly played as well. And the types of players that we're going to talk about here, like Travis Head and Rishabh Pant and Nitish Kumar Reddy, and the way they're predisposed. But nevertheless, it wasn't in the balance. I don't want to overplay that point. It wasn't in balance, but it was probably 2 quick further wickets away from maybe being in balance. Yeah. They get Head early.
The opportunity was there. Break the Head-Carey partnership. You're into the bowlers.
That's it.
And you can knock a team over for 30 more runs at that point.
That's it.
That's a thing that does happen.
And instead, I just felt like the way that Head bounced through those gates. A little bit like yesterday how I mentioned the national anthem, how it was sung so ferociously. I felt like something was about to happen right away. Not that, but I just felt like this is game on here. Much the same way when Head walked out, first couple of balls, he was hitting the fucking cover off it. It wasn't like he was going to...
Or trying to, and missing.
And missing sometimes. At times the innings was laden with risk, but I think that it was measured in as far as he knew that on this ground with the short square boundaries, for whatever reason, day-night test cricket just works for this guy. Extra zip off the pitch,
works for him.
Extra bounce that you see in all the data they pass around from CricViz and so on. This surface, these conditions, the home crowd, the energy of being there with his young kid, and the celebration for the 100 with rocking the cradle and all the rest of it, it combined into the...
I thought it was just because he loves The Hand That Rocked the Cradle. It's one of his favourite films, and I just thought it was a tribute to that. So I may have misunderstood that.
What's the helmet on top of the bat handle mean then?
I don't Gladiator 2. Big fan. Not so big on, not on the original, but really likes Denzel Washington. Okay. So Travis Head's into Denzel. Training Day, one he loves. Ethan Hawke, White Fang, Get Out of Here, you dumb dog. I mean, there's a lot of overlap. Before Sunrise, he loves Before Sunrise.
Yeah, it just felt like it was like the perfect storm. All the preconditions for a Travis Head
movie he likes.
Worldly. And it was a worldly. It was akin to what we saw at, I don't know, there's never a perfect like for like, but remember at Hobart when they were 3 down early on against England a couple of years ago, albeit an England side that was 1 foot on the plane. But the way you played that afternoon and that evening, which won him the player of the Ashes that summer. And then Carey didn't need to do an awful lot. Partnership of 74. He only added 15 or something like that himself. It was the perfect partner because Carey gave him like the support. It was the tempo.
Carey would be the perfect partner, wouldn't he?
Oh gosh.
He would. Imagine him domestically. He would give you support. He'd be asking about your day. He'd be chipping in with the things that you weren't expecting him to do because they were on your to-do list. But you'd come back and he would have folded all your socks and put them away in the drawer.
When you have an argument, he always says sorry first.
Yeah,
he doesn't wait for it.
I think so.
Yeah, mediation isn't required in that relationship.
Yeah,
because any relationship involving Alex Carey is going to be one that's laden with respect.
Yep.
And
gentleness.
Tender.
Deft hands. He was just dabbing. He was dropping the ball away.
He doesn't just love you. He's devoted to you.
Yeah, he sees you. I think that's the key thing. He really sees you.
And that's the go with those two, right? We saw that in the Test documentary that Amazon, I think it was season 2 of the Test from memory. They are very, very close.
Yeah.
So I guess the point I'm making here is if he's going to bat with anyone in a situation like that, best it be Alex Carey.
Right. What I liked about today was the way the gear shifted, because early it was quite grindy, right? So McSweeney does his thing, makes it to stumps. Didn't last too long, only a few overs this morning.
Got an absolute beauty from Bumrah.
He did get it. He got the same one that he got last night, basically.
Yeah.
It was
pretty stiff.
He nicked it.
In the first Test match, he got 2 balls that reared back to him off the seam from Bumrah to blow his pad off twice. And in this Test match, he's got 2 that have gone the other way from Bumrah that are just as impressive. So I think there's something there. But more than something there.
That's fundamentally facing Bumrah. He can do that.
No, I get that, but I think Nathan McSweeney's going to have far easier days in Test cricket than the handful he's had so far.
Yes, but he at least he got to 39, so he's done something. He's got a score which will give him a little bit of breathing space, and just put a bit of air back into his lungs as well. And then Labuschagne,
God, he was good.
He didn't grind today. Like he got a bit more fluent as he went on. He played some nice shots.
Played really, really well.
He got out looking to score. He's reaching for the ball from ready and trying to steer it through the gully and looking to be proactive there. And he does hit it away in the air and get caught, and that can happen. But he's made 64. It's not the kind of score that's going to get everybody off his back. If he has 2 low scores in the next Test, they'll be right back on his back again. I think. But it's a half century only buys you so much time when you're coming out of a long rut.
I felt differently about it. I felt like the way he looked was more important than the runs he made. Jug again and look at the score. He's just a sucker with no self-esteem. He was couldn't help it. He looked fucking good.
Yeah.
The way he played through mid-wicket, I reckon you could write 1,000 words on the first ball of the day.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, if you were that kind of rider. It just struck
me.
I
will. Maybe I'll go back upstairs and do that.
Absolute best. Labuschagne was a menace because he knew where his 4th stump line was, and he never fucking played there. And any time you bowled to him on off stump or middle stump, he'd play you through mid-wicket for 4. There were signs of that today. Not just signs, he was doing it. Hit 17 off 1 over where there were boundaries all around. Even his cover drive, which has been a source of drama of late, his inability to play the ball fluently through the covers, played a couple of lovely cover drives. That checked cover drive, where he didn't have the full backswing right at the middle of the bat, one of the shots of the Test match. So I reckon
the only downside to the check drive, Jetstar charged him $70 for it. Outrageous.
And the extra baggage.
You can't check.
Do you know they cancelled a flight on me last week, and it was only I was going up to Sydney for 1 day, and they're not reimbursing the return leg. Only I'm like, hang on, but I can't.
You can't.
But I can't get
use
there.
It. I'm going to have to take the train up there in order to come back.
I can't get there. I can't fucking get there.
Jetstar. That's smart. Yeah. They've always
they look at you when you're on Jetstar. They kind of look at you when you're. They look at you like you're a fucking criminal.
They're like, well, okay. There are certain bars
they look like you're in Con Air.
There are certain bars, particularly in the US, like this, where if you walk in there, they know that you're shit. Like, and they tell you by looking.
They know
at you,
you're a dirtbag.
You're coming in here to drink. Well, we know that you're at our level. Then it is like that when you check in. So right,
Should we talk about the cricket?
Should we talk about the cricket? Maybe. It's you've got the Bumrah moments, right? You've got every time he comes on, it's an event. But it felt like they were relying on him too much today. They didn't have a lot of other options than Bumrah. Ashwin starts getting into his work as the innings goes on. The Travis Head thing, I've talked about this before, is how remarkably consistent he manages to be while being high risk. Because he's made a few first ballers in the last couple of years, and
3 golden ducks last year, including a king pair. Only made it past 50 once. In the whole summer, and that was the 100 he made here.
Right, but generally across his career, even if he doesn't make huge scores, he makes
Gets a start,
18, he makes 33, he makes 28, he makes 45.
Yes.
But he makes double-figure scores, and he makes something because he scores quickly. And he got out there and just tried to get on with it today. Did throw the bat, did play and miss a fair bit. And then he was, like you say, he was absolutely drilling the balls that he got onto. He had luck. He edged that one between keeper and slip when they'd moved slip out to second slip. So Rohit Sharma pops himself out there.
Bad keeping.
Bad captaincy as well. I don't like the staggered slip.
I don't mind the split cordon when you've got two if you've got two catches.
But he's trying to do the bouncer field. They go to the bouncer field for head all the time. They put like 3 out.
Didn't bounce enough though.
Yeah, but they put a deep square leg and a long leg and a deep point, and then they take him out of the cordon, and then he edges through the cordon.
I haven't got a huge problem with them having the split cordon when it's a situation where you're doing that. What was I don't think ideal, far from, was that Rishabh didn't try and take it.
Go for it. Yeah.
When you haven't got a first slip there, it is the responsibility of the keeper to try and make half chances.
Go for
somehow
anything.
Keep the ball in the air in a situation like that.
It felt like it beat him for pace. Like he by the time he thought about moving, it was already past him.
That's right.
He looked at Rohit, and Rohit looked at him, and they went, ugh. But what do you do? And then there's the Ashwin half chance where Head hits him down the ground for 6. Just an offensive shot, by the way.
Yeah.
A flat off drive. I mean, generally, if you're hitting the spinner in your head and you're skipping around the crease, you try to hit over long on. But he's gone, no, I'm going to back away. I'm going to lean back and then just smear it over long on for 6. And then he goes, maybe slog sweep for 6 next ball. Yeah, let's have a go at that. Skies it. I was down at ground level for this one. It was actually a really good effort from Siraj because the ball was swirling. It was going into the breeze. He's coming across the ground laterally, so he's like out at whatever it is, kind of long on, and he's moving across. And then he dives. He's got both feet off the ground by the time he gets his fingertips to the ball and can't hold on to it. It's too tough. But just trying to read it out of the air was really difficult. I was trying to read it out of the air from the boundary line, and it was moving further away from where I was and the direction that he was coming from. You know, I think it looked like his positioning was bad on the TV, but actually at ground level, it was too difficult to read where the ball was going to drop.
Yeah, look, it's a low percentage chance when you factor in everything, but it's the ones they practice at training all the time, and he did get both hands to it. So it's a little bit like that catch that Khawaja dropped last night. There's mitigation for what happened, or yesterday rather, but still at this level you get judged on a far harsher curve, and if he catches him then on 76, now, you know, Head
harsher Bogley curve.
Yeah, he basically doubles his score from there.
Yeah.
Which seems... I came on a commentary at one point for half an hour. He was on 63, and I went off. He was on 114.
Okay.
I mean, it was a completely bonkers passage of play. It, of course, included in bringing up the 100 and the aforementioned celebration. It included, at the end of all that whole sequence, him and Siraj going at each other, hit for 6, and then next ball Siraj with the second newie when they finally reached the second new ball, remembering Australia strategically timed their assault when the ball was getting old and they were into repeat spells. Siraj bowled a long spell off the top. Bumrah bowled a spell off the top, of course he did today, but by the time they were getting into them when the ball was soft, they knew what they were doing. This is Travis Head 101.
Yep.
And the second new ball, Siraj eventually does bowl the in-swinging Yorker, does take the stumps out, gives Head a send-off, which, you know, I'm not going to judge, but if you give someone a send-off on their home ground when they're 140, you are going to cop it.
You are going to cop it.
And then Head's response, FYC,
Yep.
which was very, very funny.
Yep,
And
it was unsophisticated, but straight to the point.
And then the next ball, Nick bowls a wide half volley, which, well, Stark essentially turned it to wide half volley, flayed through the big gap in the covers out for 4, and the crowd, I mean, that could be Hall of Fame worthy.
I'm coming back to that Hall of Fame, believe you me.
Okay.
So they smash a few more, you know, Stark whacks a few, Cummins gets out just after the break, just before the break.
Useful little partnerships through that little run there. So, yeah, Head and Cummins put on 28, Cummins and Stark put on 22 in a hurry. Just kind of like, I use this expression quite a bit, it punched the bruise. It took the lead from kind of 100 odd to the 157 that we referred to before, which feels that much more daunting, knowing that you're going to be starting your innings under lights. And again, we know how big a deal it is being bowling at the right time in day-night Test cricket and not finding yourself batting at the wrong time. Australia got through that interrogation last night, only losing 1 wicket. Well, India
and that's
lost
been
5.
Historically how it's been. The data analysis that Cricinfo did about all of the pink ball tests is that Australia batting in the evening sessions have lost very few wickets, and every visiting team batting in the evening sessions have lost
experience.
Heaps. But right from the first one really, and so they come into that. So India, Australia bat for a little bit of that last session. Stark hits one to mid off, Boland gets bowled trying to defend, and they come in after 20 minutes or so of that last session, still with 2 hours to go. And it's not right from the get-go, but it's pretty quickly. KL Rahul plays a pull shot and nicks one, and then the way that Boland is able to strike immediately, comes on, first ball, gets one to move away. Jaiswal's been looking pretty good. He's batting with Gill. They're both sort of up towards the 20s. They've made a few.
They're put on 30 at that point.
And Jaiswal nicks one because it's moving away a little bit behind. Kohli not long afterwards edges one as well, a little bit wide of the stumps. Boland again. He's just so good at hitting that length that draws people into shots.
Yeah, both deserve attention. With Jaiswal, first ball, what's your theory? I mean, why does Boland strike right away all the time? Is it that he's a yard slower? Is there something in that it is nowhere like that batters have a bit more time to think about it? I don't know. I mean, we're talking fractions of seconds.
Yeah.
Because he's not a slow bowler. He's bowling in the mid-130s. He's not that much slower than Cummins, but maybe he looks, I don't know what it is, but something about him hitting the right spot immediately with just enough. It's never been that exaggerated movement from Boland
it's the
through
opposite.
the second half of his career. It's subtle variations.
Yeah. So he just moves it a little bit off the seam, and I think he hits a perfect length for whatever player it is, and he's able to do that right from the get-go. He's just grooved that action, and that is why he sometimes gets smashed. So you saw Pant come in. Pant's first ball skips down the wicket and slams him over mid-off, wasn't it?
Like what Root and Brook did to Boland when he did have moments last year when he did battle.
Exactly that, and even a little bit in Nagpur, they were able to hit him because he lands it consistently on a length. So there are times when players can basically play T-ball with him because they read that consistency. But when it's the first ball of a new spell and you just want to defend it, but you're not moving your feet, you're stuck on the crease, he decides the length he's going to bowl to you, and he bowls it every time. And then he just moves it off the seam a little bit. And that might be cutting back into you to hit your pad or moving away from you to take your edge. But I think that's it. I think that's why he's been able to be so consistently dangerous in his first over of an innings or of a spell.
I was really enjoying the partnership between Jaiswal and Gill as well. I mean, they're the two anointed ones, aren't they? They are the successors to Kohli.
Princelings.
The princes. I was on commentary with Shastri at the time, sort of talking about this, how these are the guys who are going to be, if everything goes to plan for Indian cricket, it doesn't always go that way. Gill's a little bit older, of course, but they could have the types of careers. And the way Jaiswal's played through 2024, we said it last week, it feels almost inevitable that he will. But those two together, like, get used to that. Jaiswal batting at the top of the list and Gill coming in at 3 and them enjoying long and productive partnerships. So part of me was like, I'd love to see these two bat for a long period of time, but of course the joy of Scotty Boland. And in the way he set up Kohli with Channel 7, I think it was, did some analysis on this, I think it was 7, where they showed they did that beehive thing, the pitch map thing. He, genuinely landed it in the proverbial shoebox at Kohli for like 4 overs.
The beehive. I'd love it if they just showed a bunch of Beyonce supporters. They're like, tell us about Scotty Boland.
But it wasn't him trying to get him out with the first ball, although of course he would have loved to have done that. It was the, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen thing, right? It was, can't even remember who.
Scotty Boland, Rachel Hunter together at last.
He just waited and showed that discipline in that corridor that he knows that has been problematic for Kohli over the last few years, acknowledging that Kohli played out of his skin last week in the second innings when Australia were tiring. Well, they weren't tiring at either time that he was batting in this test match, and they found a way to get straight back on top of him when it just looks like Kohli had a real toehold in the series. And the other point here, of course, is that Kohli's regularly described Adelaide as his favourite ground in the world. 3 test hundreds here, his first ever 100 back in 2012, twin hundreds in his first test as captain in 2014, led India to a famous victory here in 2018 that set up a series win, and sadly for him, his last appearance with the bat at Adelaide Oval, he missed out and was caught behind for 11.
It's a servo, 7-11. His 2 innings. And then, Mitchell Starc does the Mitchell Starc thing, incredible curling Yorker to Shubman Gill
like that
knocks middle stump out.
It just reminded me of the ball he bowled to Rassi van der Dussen to take his 300th test wicket at the Gabba a couple of years ago. It was essentially a leg cutter, obviously over the wicket, bowling to the right-hander. It did swing, of course it swung, but it was the amount of movement off the seam. How you keeping that out? And it was so comprehensive. Middle stump cartwheeling, the lights going off with the zing bails that you get when you're playing day-night cricket.
Yeah.
The whole production and the fact that there was probably still, of the 51,500 people here tonight, I reckon 50,000 of them were still there watching deep into the night when Starc took that wicket.
And the symbolism of the middle stump being knocked out is, I always think of it as the gap-tooth smile. It's like someone's knocked your 2 front teeth out and you're giving them a big goofy grin. That's what it looks like from a bowling to batting perspective. And then Cummins, I want to go back and look at some of these deliveries. It's the Joe Root ball again.
Absolutely.
It's the Barbara Azam ball again.
Yep.
It's the captain decapitator. He's so often bowled these to the captain of the opposing team. The perfect, and it's so routine, and he's done this in pink ball test. He did it to Dava Milan here in 17, if I remember rightly, in that evening session with the pink ball. It's that Cummins ball where he's close to the stumps, angles it in and gets it to seam away and hits the very, very top corner of off stump. And he does that to Rohit Sharma. And, Rohit didn't look comfortable out there. Coming out at 6, he wasn't sure where to be. He was pushing the ball around. He should have been out to Stark first ball. He was smashed on the pad, but Stark had overstepped and there was a little inside edge on it. But it looked plumb. It was given out, and then they found the no ball on the DRS review because Rohit knew that he'd hit it, but it was 2 and 2 for a second for Stark there. And he didn't look comfortable being there. But the ball he gets from Cummins, like, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to play it? Cummins just there's perfection that's kind of accidental, like the Mitchell Stark one at the Wacker at the Perth Stadium off the crack, that kind of thing. But there's that perfect ball from Pat Cummins that he's able to bowl, that he's bowled probably 15 times in his career that have taken wickets.
Yep. Let's deal with Rohit first. He might have just been tired. He came out to about at like 9:15 or something like that. Got a newborn. That's a taxing time of night when you got a newborn. I don't know, just theorising. Took him a while to get his feet moving. If that is why, it wouldn't be surprising. But on a more serious note, that Cummins ball you referred to, just a little bit of scrutiny around his bowling between Perth and here about his pace and about going for more runs than his colleagues and bits and bobs. Sure enough, Cummins tonight was going to play a role. That short ball to Rahul was a belter as well, and the ball he bowled to Punt yesterday, and then the magic delivery, the one that he's ever so capable of. The amount of team talks you sit through where you talk about, well, just hit the top of off. Well, Cummins just hits the top of off with enough regularity that he's over a long period of time proven himself to be an absolute champion.
So they're 5 down, they're 29 behind, they're in all sorts of trouble. India, let's have a quick break and come back for the final word, Hall of Fame. It is the Final Word Daily Australia India. We would like to encourage you, if you're interested in all things Indian, get down to the Kabaddi tournament. It's the 28th of December, is it not, Adam?
It is.
They've roped in a bunch of former Australian rules footballers. I hope there are going to be some professional Kabaddi players as well there to show us what's what. It's at John Cain Arena, which is across the road from the MCG, so no excuse if you're at the Boxing Day test because you'll be able to get across to the Kabaddi across the road easily.
You should do it.
And you know what it is? It's just a bunch of people smashing into each other. That's what Kabaddi is. There's something involved. There's a ball. You've got to throw the ball, but you just get crash tackled all over the place.
We need to learn how Kabaddi works.
Yep.
Campbell Brown's the coach. He played in the Australian Kabaddi team.
It's going to get dirty then, isn't it?
Campbell,
They're going to be nut punching.
Campbell Brown did play in the. He's these days anyway. He played in that Kabaddi world. When we were in India, one of the times we were in India, the world champs are going on. I'm like, hang on, is Campbell Brown playing? So he has been part of it before. But a bunch of former AFL players, including Liam Shields, 3-time Hawthorn Premiership player, Billy Gowers, Brett Delidio, Michael Hibbert, Dan Hanbury, Josh Kennedy, some pretty fucking good footballers in that list just there. Josh Kennedy, who was instrumental to Sydney winning the flag in 2012. Mark Murphy, former number 1 draft pick. Dyson Heppel, Trent McKenzie. Anyway, they're all there. They're all part of it. They're all going to be there at John Cain Arena on the 28th. We're going to be there as well.
It's an India-Australia mashup. Because India are playing Australia at the G, they want to put some Kabaddi on. We're reaching hands across the oceans. That's what we're doing here.
Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, who are with us all summer, which is awesome. If you need to have access to the number 1 plaintiff law firm. We found out about the workplace. I'll start the Hall of Fame there. Okay. We found out about. We last night speculated that might have been a workplace mishap that caused the lights to go off.
I've seen the lights go out on
Dan
Broadway.
Brady broke the yarn. There was a few of us that could have, but Bretto got there first. Good on him. I'm glad he did, because he does it best. Where what really happened, there is a control box, and one of the Australian batters wanted to go out and have a little Barbara Shett last night during the evening session. Okay. And there's a series of buttons you need to press to make that happen. It's like one button for nets, one button for ground.
Sure.
And the button for nets was pressed. The net lights came on, and the ground lights went off. That's what happened. That's what happened.
We've all been there. We've all been in an Airbnb somewhere trying to figure out what switch turns on what light when you're trying not to wake up 3 other people in the middle of the night and you accidentally, turn on an extraction fan that's extremely loud or something like that. It's happened to the best of us.
It has indeed, and the best of us have got our super sorted out at cbussuper.com.au. We mention them all the time as well because it's their 40th birthday. They're a long-term partner of the show. Learn more about all of those organisations in our show notes. Geoff, your most final word moment of the day.
Okay, I apologise to the Australian Rules Football reluctant, but there is one other slightly connected item that I have to get into today. When I was down boundary side, out at deep mid-wicket, more or less, there was a fella down there. You might have heard of, Adam talks about Darren Jarman a lot and how he kicked 6 goals in the grand final and all the rest of it. But
another Hawthorn Premiership player too from 91.
Sure. But he had a brother, less celebrated, Andrew Jarman. And, got sacked by Malcolm Blight when he came over to the Crows and all the rest of it.
Was Andrew Jarman out there, was he?
No, a guy wearing a number 2, a Crows number 2 jumper, the Andrew Jarman jumper, was down there in a green curly wig. Wearing a collared shirt under the jumper, hadn't shaved in about 6 months. It was an interesting picture, but he was getting right into things. He was getting very into things, and when Travis Head flicked the 6 off his legs out over, it landed just in front of us, about 5 rows down, and Jarman was eyeing it off. He was thinking about it. He was on the causeway and he was thinking about going over the top of the 5 seats and going for the specky, and then he pulled out. And I could, I wasn't. Everyone else was down there on the beers and I wasn't, but I was sledging him anyway. I was like, "You didn't want it enough, Jarman. You didn't want it. Back it out of a contest." He hesitated when the moment was there, and then he got really fired up when Siraj gave Head the send off. He just followed Siraj from that point, from fielding position to fielding position, going him over the fence the entire time.
Brilliant.
Jarman had a big day out.
I remember Andrew Jarman blowing kisses when Adelaide won a game in Melbourne in the early days. I remember his blind turns where Darren Jarman, the younger brother, they played in that North Adelaide flag together before they both came over to Victoria. Darren was the uber skillful one, goal kicker as well when required, like in grand finals.
Yep.
Whereas Andrew was the old-fashioned chunky centreman. Mm-hmm. But blind turns and walks and all the rest of it as well. Had skills. Okay, let's move on from Andrew Jarman. More about him on another podcast.
Les 20man, chunky sentiment. You got anything else for the Hoff?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, anti-Hall of Fame. People get it. The Siraj Celebra Appeal today was worse than the one last week. It was worse than the one last week. He ran all the way up to Rishabh celebrating when, I don't even know who was on strike, Marnus, I think. Well, I think it was Marnus. He's fucking smashed it. And there was no way Rowett was reviewing it. And there are 2 laws that this could relate to. I've had another look today. It can be added into the law that number 42, I'm pretty sure, which deals with what's the word for appeal? Excessive appealing.
Yep.
Or it can deal with the appeal law, which I think is law 36 or 32. You can, at the moment, as I've said before, someone needs to ask the question. Maybe the bowler needs to be part of that. Either way, the ICC, if not MCC, need to get involved with this. It's a blight on the game. It's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. I understand why he's doing it, because others have done it before him, but it has to stop. Second time in 2 weeks, and that's from a bowler who I really enjoy the work of. I like the fact that Mohammad Siraj has turned himself into a villain. I reckon that's brilliant for the series. I'm going to enjoy watching crowds boo him. Love the way he bounced back and picked up 4 wickets. So,
old well late.
Yeah, he decided to sledge. He decided to carry on. He decided to make his presence felt.
Yep.
Sometimes it goes with you in those situations.
Decided to piff the ball at someone when there was a beer snake
and
incident.
Sometimes it doesn't. We've already talked about the arrival of Rishabh Pant and some of those ostentatious shots, but that's just every day. I set it up on commentary saying, Rishabh Pant, you're always going to expect Rishabh Pant when times are tough to counter-attack. I didn't expect him to charge Scott Boland first ball and plonk him over long off for a 1-bounce 6 or 1-bounce 4, sorry. That wasn't what I was anticipating, but it set up the next hour or so of cricket. And not related to the Test match, it's been confirmed today by Cricket Australia that when they visit the Caribbean next June and July, it'll be for 3 Test matches. Congratulations WICB, congratulations CA, that's great news. Can't wait to be there in the Caribbean for those with the final word.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do a daily one way or another. All right, we have been going on for long enough.
Before we go, these things are the other ones.
Yeah.
These are the looking up here, the other Glenn Maxwell T20 glasses. I got a lot of feedback on these last night, but these are the more casual ones. They look quite good on you. Yep. The more street ones, T20 Vision.
Is it 2020 Vision?
The website is t20vision.com/final word. You'll see it in the show notes. You get 10% off. Great Christmas present. I've got 2 different pairs of them, and I already bloody love them. So you can get some too and look like Glenn Maxwell.
There we go. This has been the Final Word Daily, the Australia-India one. There will be one more. There could be another one. Who knows? We might have an Adelaide miracle. We might have a Rishabh masterclass. It could happen, but there will at least be day 3. It'll be the Sunday afternoon when we get going. We will be with you after play tomorrow. Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins. Patreon.com/thefinalword if you want to support the show. Subscribe, follow the channel, do all the things you might otherwise do to help us help you find out about the cricket. That's it. See you later.
Good night.